All right, so there's a new report that's come out, and it just is really re-emphasizing everything I've been saying for a long time now. AI is never going to fully replace developers. Now, I want to kind of dive into this today because everybody's losing their mind over AI replacing programmers. Executives are hyping it up, stock prices are soaring, but after all my 25 years in the software trenches, I'm calling it AI will never fully replace developers. Let me show you exactly why even the best AI systems will still need human developers behind them, and let's dive into this topic here today. Welcome back to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thompson. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so let's get real for a second here, right? AI code tools are impressive, right? I use them myself. There's been a world of difference, though, between generating code snippets and building complex, reliable software. Here's what the big tech CEOs aren't telling you about about their tweets about AI replacing all their developers. 94% of C-suite executives admit that they're not satisfied with the current AI solutions. So when I built my first startup, I learned that knowing what to build matters more than knowing how to build it. So AI might help you with the how, but it's clueless about the what. Now, there's also a dirty little secret. 72% of those same executives face significant challenges adopting AI, and they're selling this fantasy to boost their stock prices. Now, the other part about this is if 72% of those executives face significant challenges adopting AI, guess who they're turning to help them adopt it? You guessed it, a bunch of developers. So AI doesn't think like we do. It's pattern matching on steroids. Linus Torvalds says that it's autocorrect on steroids, right? It's not genuine comprehension. Now, I once spent 3 days tracking down a huge bug that was obvious to me once I understood the business context, but it would have been absolutely invisible to the AI because it compiled and it looked like good code. So these systems don't grasp the human needs behind the requirements. They just synthesize what they've seen before. Now, without understanding why they're building something, AI constantly makes assumptions that leads to subtle but critical flaws. So I know that the hardest part of writing code isn't hard part of building software is not writing the code. It's figuring out what the client actually needs versus what they say they need. The most valuable skill in program isn't typing, it's translating human problems into technical solutions. So developers build software that really matters to people. And it's more than just coding, right? They understand stakeholders, they understand business acumen that AI simply won't have the context for. So when you're solving a real problem for people, you need to be able to iterate based on feedback and emotions that AI can't perceive. So I've sat in countless meetings where reading the room was more important than reading the code. So requirements are constantly changing because humans constantly change, right? Other systems affect this system. So it may look at our system and say everything's working. But if a corresponding system that it's connecting to is changed, it's going to have to know and be able to context that, right? So the best products I've built succeeded because we made good technical trade-offs based on business priorities, not just clean code, right? AI is brilliant at optimizing what exists. It can take a massive amount of data, pull it down really quick, but it's terrible at inventing what should exist. So AI follows patterns, right? Humans break those patterns, and the breaking of patterns is how innovation happens. When you're solving a genuinely new problem, there's no training data for AI to lean on. Yesterday, I hit a problem I'd never seen before, and solving it required connecting dots from 3 different domains of knowledge. So AI might generate 20 potential solutions, but it can't evaluate which one balances the best maintainability, performance, and business impact. So after over 2 decades in the industry, I've learned that the most elegant solutions are generally the most simple ones, and sometimes they don't go for this, right? So true engineering creativity isn't generating more options, it's knowing which constraints can be reimagined. So there's also a lot of problems happening around security and edge cases that need human oversight. AI-generated code has already been proven to contain massive amounts of security vulnerabilities. And that's a problem because a lot of times it's generated off of a lot of old code. So the most dangerous bugs aren't syntax errors. They're logical flaws that happen in edge cases that weren't in the training data. So I've seen $1 million systems fail because scenarios were one scenario that somebody didn't think to test. So when your system handles sensitive data or critical operations, can you really trust that code that even its creators don't fully understand? So I've learned that defensive program isn't just about avoiding errors, it's about expecting the unexpected. Good security isn't a feature, it's a mindset that permeates every decision. Now, if your company has systems that aren't connected, let us help you out. Here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work like a well-oiled machine. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer. Now, the context and business logic remain human domains, right? AI can write functions, and the context windows on these LLMs are getting bigger and bigger every day. Google Gemma just released and has 128K context windows. And there's more and more they're doing with creating more and more into these context windows. And as the VRAM gets larger and larger in these coming years, you're going to be able to stuff more and more into these context windows to be able to allow more tokens to be processed in the LLM to be able to do these quickly. However, you still can't go with the context window of 25 years of software development. You can't even go with the context windows of what junior developers can bring to the table with a couple of years or the ability to connect and talk to a human, right? Every line of code embeds assumptions about how your business works. And these assumptions are ones that AI can't validate without human expertise. So the best architecture reflects business realities, not just technical patterns from a set of trained data. So integration is really where the challenge lives. AI can generate endpoints, but it can't navigate the political minefield of getting access to legacy systems that they need to connect. So we've, in my experience, the most valuable developer on the team is often the one who can map technical capabilities to business workflows. So when you're integrating with third-party systems, documentation is just the starting point. And as all developers know, one of the hardest part in software is getting really good requirements. When you get perfect requirements, what do we call that? We call it code, right? After integrating hundreds of systems over 25 years, I can tell you that no AI today can handle the ambiguity of real-world system boundaries. So remember, simple systems work in isolations. Valuable systems work together, and that's why here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to make your company work more efficiently. Now, making it user-friendly means something different to every stakeholder. AI can't navigate these subject waters because that's going to depend on different industries as well as other information, right? So I built entire systems where the final product barely resembled the initial specs because we discovered better solutions along the way as we rolled out to customers. And this is something AI is not going to do for you. AI needs specific instructions. How many times have you put something in AI, not quite got it right, try to put it back in, still not got it right, try to put it, and done this multiple times? This is what happens with AI. With software, you can't always just keep trying and iterating 12 times before you get it right. Sometimes a human needs to be able to know what is the right systems, right? So some of my most successful projects succeeded precisely because we questioned the requirements rather than implementing them verbatim. So just today, I spent over 3 hours with clients beating down into being ruthless with the requirements. I actually use that term in the calls to say we were going to be ruthless with these requirements to make sure that what we built, we only had to build once. Now, AI might generate code, but maintaining systems over years requires continuity of understanding that AI is currently lacked. And that's why code maintenance requires human judgments, right? A lot of times you may look at a tricky piece of code and say, hey, this code is working, but I know, this code is, you may look at the code and say, hey, this is super ugly code, right? We've all come across this. But then you also know that code's been running for 2 years. Are you really going to want to touch it? Now, AI is not going to understand that. It's just going to see, oh, hey, I think I can optimize this code. Now, in theory, that sounds great, but now you've just optimized some piece of code because AI knew it could, and you really should have just had the human wisdom to not touch the code because it's been running for a few years, right? So the difference between a good program and a great one isn't writing new code, it's knowing which existing code to leave alone. I tell my developers all the time, the best code is the ones where you're deleting code, right? And those are my favorite check-ins. Technical debt decisions require balancing immediate business needs against long-term sustainability, and it's fundamentally a huge human judgment call, or something I call wisdom. Every significant system eventually becomes more about evolution than creation, precisely where AI tools struggle the most. Now, if your company has systems that aren't connected, let us help you out. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer because we can help you out. Now, I want to go into this. I hear stuff like this from this, and I'm going to switch over monitors here. So this is Anthropic's CEO, and he says this is a clip, from 14 days ago of him saying the next 3 to 6 months, AI is going to write 90% of the code, and 12 months nearly out of the code. Obviously, he's going to say this. He wants his stock prices to go up, right? But there's no way that this is going to be the case. The context simply wouldn't be enough. You cannot possibly get to that. So, and again, I've been hearing this I heard this with Web 2.0. I heard this with no code in the teens. I heard this with Web 3.0. I heard this with no code and low code again in the early 2020s. Like I've heard this, and we've repeated this pattern over and over again. But let's take a listen to what he's saying here.
But this, I do have a fair amount of concern about this. On one hand, I think comparative advantage is a very powerful tool. If I look at coding, programming, which is one area where AI is making the most progress, what we are finding is we are not far from a world, I think we'll be there in 3 to 6 months, where AI is writing 90% of the code. And then in 12 months, we may be in a world where AI is writing essentially all of the code.
So one of the first things here is he says that, AI, one of the first things that he says here that kind of tips me off is he's like, where coding is, becoming the increasing, one of the fastest growing parts. That's not even close to true. The text has been where LLMs have been working the best. And this is the reason why ChatGPT hit the market so strong in November 23 is because it was in a fancy party trick. You could sit and talk to it like a human, and that really impressed everybody. Now, is AI doing really well at generating like code snippets and base code? Yeah, of course. Can it generate some unit tests? Yes. But even its ability to create decent unit test coverage is one of the first things I would point out to, explain how I know it's nowhere ready to be building critical systems. So maybe 90% of base templates, sure. Visual Studio's been doing that for a while. So hate to break that to him. But this is a report that I really wanted to go through because I think this is a really interesting one from Axois, right? And these guys don't really have, they're not selling anything here. And that's one of my favorite parts is to find these ones of things that aren't really selling something. I mean, everybody's selling something. Heck, I'm here selling you something, right? But at the same time, I'm just trying to give you my take on what this looks like for 25 years, right, in the industry. So AI is tearing apart companies' survey finds how employees and C-suite view select areas of AI adoption of their company. So let's look at first, feel their company's approach to AI is well-controlled and highly strategic. Now, the employees, 47%. C-suite, 73%. Now, even this being this low at 73%, or this high at 73%, high or low, is interesting, right? 45% think their company is successful in adopting AI over the past 12 months. Now, I'm surprised that it's even as high as 45%, frankly. But 75% of CEOs feel this way. Say their company has an AI strategy, 87%. So now the thing that's interesting about this is 89%, and yet only 73% say they actually have this under control, whereas 57% say they have a strategy. Believe their company has a high level of AI literacy. 33% of employees say yes. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about this is, so nearly all of the C executive surveys say that they are not satisfied with their current AI solutions. 72% of C-suite leaders say they feel their company faced at least one challenge in adopting AI. I would say it's far more than that. 71% of these leaders complain that their AI applications are being created in a silo. Yikes. So not even connected, right? Stunning stat. 59% of executives say they're actively looking for a new job with a company that's more innovative with generative AI. That's kind of crazy, right? So among employees, the number is 35%. So this is what's really funny is, so executives are thinking that, 60% of executives say they're actively looking for a new job with a company that's more generative because all the C-levels know that this is a bunch of hype. Whereas employees who are looking for this is only 35%, right? So the study surveyed 800 C-level executives and 800 employees in December 24. So that's pretty recent. Now, even those C-suite leaders who believe that their AI integration is proceeding smoothly are handing down policies and tools to workforce that are more frustrated than they are. Less than half, 45% of the employees versus 75% of the C-suite think their company has their company's AI rollout in the last 12 months has been successful. So I think this is really funny because the C-suite is saying, yeah, 75% of us think our AI rollout's good, whereas less than half of the employees, 45%, think this is good. And honestly, I'm going to go back to what Satya Nadella here said. We've not seen any hit on gross companies. Like nobody's making money off of AI except for the people selling AI, right? It hasn't actually helped. According to the May 2020 study, nearly 2/3, 64% of leaders said that organizations need to embrace AI despite the fact that it will change jobs faster than employees can adapt. According to LinkedIn report, 53% of employees said they hid their AI use from their employees for fear it would make them look replaceable. How terrifying is this? I tell my developers all the time, AI is not going to replace you, but a developer who knows how to use AI might. So I guess I'm in the minority here. So I just thought this was a really fascinating study, and it just really kind of mirrors what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a ton of hype, a ton of noise at the executive level. What I'm seeing at the employee level is very few people are actually putting this to use in a way that is making this useful, right? Humans drive innovation. Excellence comes from humans' wisdoms. There's a reason senior developers are getting paid more. Their gut feel about potential problems comes from years of making mistakes that AI hasn't made and won't be able to. Great developers aren't just skilled, they're scarred by past failures in a way that makes them exceptionally valuable. So the most important developer skills cannot be articulated as a rule, right? They're internalized through experience. So the future isn't AI replacing developers. It's AI amplifying what human developers can accomplish faster. The best AI coding tools act as force multipliers for human creativity, not substitutes for human judgment. So I'm using AI to handle the tedious parts of development so I can focus on the creative challenges that actually move the needle. Developers who thrive are those who are fighting, are those who aren't fighting against AI. They're ones who are leveraging it while developing the uniquely human skills AI can't replace. Now, I also do, I have a playlist here. So make sure you check out the channel and like and subscribe, because I actually want to make sure that I'm bringing AI development to the masses. So we actually teach about how you can build an AI machine that your corporation can use between $500 to $1,000. So you can get the development machines for $500 and a production level machine for $1,000. This is something that you could use in your corporation. Now, I'm not saying this is going to go replace ChatGPT. I'm saying this is something you can use in your system to start a program against these LLMs. So if your company has systems that aren't connected, reach out to us here at Startup Pack, because our specialty is connecting systems to help your company. So check out startuppack.com/Spencer. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I really love to have a great discussion. As long as we don't get into name calling or anything like that, I'm great to even disagree. I frequently disagree in the comments, and I answer all of them personally. And I frequently take comments and discussions that have come there and bring them to the channel. So make sure you like and subscribe, because here at Startup Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out, because we'd love to help, and here's some great information about our coding boot camp.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included, so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely and students can start earning while they learn.
Startup Hack's .NET Coding Bootcamp was a game changer for my career. As someone with no prior programming experience, I was initially intimidated by the idea of learning to code, but the instructors at Startup Hack broke down complex concepts into easy to understand lessons and provided hands-on projects that really cemented my understanding. The curriculum was comprehensive and up to date and got me ready for my first job. What really set Startup Hack apart was the focus on practical, real-world skills. Thanks to Startup Hack, I landed my dream job as a .NET developer within weeks of graduating. I went from knowing nothing about code to building professional-grade web applications in just a few intense months. If you're looking to break into .NET development or level up your coding skills, I cannot recommend Startup Hack enough.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience, on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out startuphack.com to code your future and start today.